Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed, so honored, so excited to have Miss Juanita Ingram here, attorney, author, actress, philanthropist. I mean, what don't you do? Juanita, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's great. And I got to give some props to Annette Walters, who actually introduced us. So big shout out to Annette and Lindy, because you appeared with them before. And you have an Amazon Prime TV show about our world in global mobility and relocation. And like, this is like mind blowing right now. I feel like we finally made it. This year is a big year for global mobility between Brexit and your show. Tell us about your show, Juanita.
Yes, well, it's called the Expats International Ingrams, and we had like a 4 to 6 week short run on Amazon Prime. We are coming back eventually. The show, we did not expect it to do this well. I shouldn't say that, because you always wanted to do extremely well. I did not expect it to do this well this fast. And I think because it is very unique. It is the first of its kind. It's the first time that you ever see expats and lifestyle and, showcasing. I think Annette said it was the first time that the most realistic and honest depiction of what it's like to live abroad. It is my baby. And so we did that 6 weeks, less than 6 weeks, 2.3 million streams. So
wow.
Yeah. So
what do you attribute the success to, Juanita? I mean, I caught some of it. Is it your amazing PR skills, because you are gifted in that area? But I mean, what do you think struck a chord with people?
I think and the response that we've received the most, a couple of things, maybe three. One is a family show. And I think that in the unscripted sort of reality genre, there was a void that was missing. And this comes particularly for me as a filmmaker. You always want to try to fill a void in telling a story that hasn't been told. So one, it's family specific, it's family friendly. Two, it is a story that has never been told. So it is something that people have never seen. It's an aspect and a subset of genre that we've never seen on film, we've never talked about. We wanted to create and sort of carve out a new subcategory under the genre of unscripted TV, and we called it smart reality, in the sense that I think traditionally when you think of reality, there are certain aspects of sort of negative drama and things that you come to expect, and this is the opposite of that. Because I had a lot of friends that, and I love all reality TV. I'm a reality TV fan. I think there's something out there for everybody. There was a void for things that were both educational and entertaining. So the Black Panthers back in the 60s coined a phrase called edutainment, which
edutainment. That's a Black Panther phrase? I didn't know that went back that far.
They originated it. A lot of people have used it, picked it up, but it originated in the 50s and 60s with the Black Panthers. And it was a way that they did educated youth in their breakfast program that needed to be both educational and entertaining. So when we were scripting out and sort of writing out the storyboard for this idea of the show, we wrote edutainment at the top, because I did want to educate people, inform them about our world, about relocation, about living abroad, about different places and travel, but also do it in an entertaining and fun way. I have been told that it is refreshing, that it is very different. And so when you have, a unique aspect of storytelling plus a story that's never been told, I think it was just the perfect marriage, if you will, for to explode and to be successful. And then there are so many different groups that identify with different things. So you have the whole relocation world that now has a show that speaks to the realities of some of the issues that you encounter and have to deal with packing and school locations and house hunting and things that we've never seen in a realistic way. I mean, you have House Hunters International, but that's not really what we experience.
And it's just one point in time, right? It's like, pick a house. Okay, cool. Not like, let's see how you live in that house and let's see all the things that go great and things that don't go not so great. I mean, this is a much more longitudinal look at the experience of the expat. I love this. I want to give some shout outs real quick. We got a ton of people checking in right now. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button, throw a comment in there. I want to hear your questions for Juanita. Juanita's family is amazing. I went on actually, and I was watching some of your shows, and your kids are incredible. Is it Kinsley and Keenan?
And KJ. Yeah, little
KJ?
Keenan.
Oh my gosh.
They're funny. They're just, I mean,
funny, amazing.
They're at that age where they're funny, you know, like when we started this journey, my kids were 8 and 11. Believe it or not, my daughter just turned 13. So that I can tell you that's how long we rolled the cameras. This was not a short endeavor, because the reality is settling and transitioning. It's not a short undertaking. You know, it's like you said, it's not a snapshot. You know, it is the good. It's honest. It is realistically what happens is we filmed the entire first year of us settling. And I should say, because I know people will go look it up, we are paused right now on distribution because it was so immensely successful. Well, there are a couple of reasons. One reason I can talk about, one reason I can't, but one reason that I can't talk about while we pause for a second is because it was so immensely successful. We did 2.3 million, you know, in just a few weeks, and you catch a lot of attention and a lot of eyes with that. And so we are in the midst of trying to negotiate some things in terms of where it would best be served in terms of future distribution. And the idea of the show was always to be a franchise.
I was going to say, kind of like how House Hunters is, maybe more expat families. And I can tell just by the way you set it up, the Expats International Ingrams, it could be, you know, it will be Goskowskis, it could be the, the Continental Crosses. I mean, we're just, spitballing here.
What we would love to do is make it location specific. So there will be the Expats Canada, the Expats Switzerland, the Expats, Johannesburg, and to make it specific to certain areas so that, and highlight other families and other people and other expats in their journeys. One thing that I love about the show is while our family, you have to have somebody that brings you there. We had to be the guinea pigs. It was the first season. Somebody had to bring it so that people could conceptualize what it needed to be. It was very hard to explain that it wasn't a travel show per se. Right. It's not, this isn't a Discovery Channel, although the Discovery Channel would be appropriate, but it's not.
Not saying that against the Discovery Channel if you're watching, right?
Right. I'm not counting anybody out. But it is not specifically, it's not a travel vlog. It is specifically a lifestyle about living abroad. And there were so many groups that identified with so many different things, whether it's being, one aspect was cultural and being Black and abroad. And so that was a huge aspect that had never been seen or talked about. We had such a year talking about culture and diversity and inclusiveness, and what does that mean and how does that translate globally? So,
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the Black expat experience.
Yes.
I think that's a huge part of your show, and I want to talk about it a little bit. I've got all sorts of questions. We got a ton of people who are chiming in here. I want to just go through, get some shout outs. What's up, Stacy Huff, super producer Stacy in the house here. Tim Quirk, howdy, Juanita and Ben. Excited in Western New York. We've got Germany in the house. What's up, Alan? Good to see you. And everybody out there, I know this is why Alan's here too, because he wants to win some wine. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's free wine day. Okay?
All right.
So we got Janet Turner in the house. She's picked some wines for us. So go ahead. It's our 8 weeks of giving. Go ahead and hit that link. Stacy, throw that link up there one more time for him. Hit that link down there, loveandrelo.com/community. Sponsored by our good friends at First Tech Federal Credit Union. Okay, shout out to Brian Rivers and the good people over there. They're making this possible. We're going to give away 2 bottles of wine today. So go on there and register, loveandrelo.com/community. Middle of the show, we're going to pick. I think is this our 3rd week on it? 4th week? I don't even know. We got a lot more wine to give away. Victoria McCullough, welcome to Texas. Hey, I'm here. You may say, Ben, where are you right now? Yes, I am in Texas. Yes, that is a piece of a bunk bed. Right there, okay. That is the ABCs, okay, in case I forget how to spell. This is actually my cousin's house right now, so bear with me, okay? Bear with me, all right? Just looking for some strong Wi-Fi right now. Erica Burton, what's up? What's up, Erica? Antonio Lamb in the house from the UK. This is great. Antonio, what time is it? Oh my goodness, it's almost midnight over there. Anna from Maryland. Hey, driver, be careful out there in Big Spring, Texas. Janaína from Brazil. What's up, Janaína? My dad's checking in T-Town. Love you, Dad. Janet, there from Central Florida. Everybody's Jody's in the house. Mary Lee checking in. William Wiggins. What's up, William? Yeah, it's William. You and Allison would love this show, man. You got to watch it. It's so awesome. You can catch some clips on YouTube and some things. Andrew
Yes,
Bruzy checking in.
And you can go to, you can keep plugged in terms of, so to finish, I forgot to say, we're paused in distribution on Amazon right now for good reason, negotiating some things. When you grow that fast, you catch attention from a lot of different things, from a lot of different entities. There are reasons why we pause. I can talk about reasons why I can't, but the reason why that is most prominent, we really are going to relaunch in a different way. It will be more content. I know a lot of people that watched the whole thing, binge watched it and wanted more. There'll be a couple of bonus episodes, a couple of bonus scenes. A lot has taken place since we stopped rolling the cameras, but mainly because we are negotiating and thinking about and exploring opportunities in terms of the franchise aspect of it all. And so I won't say more than that because I'm a lawyer and I take NDAs and confidentiality very seriously, and I draft them and then I sign them and then I adhere to them. Yeah. But I know that there's been such tremendous support and just so many people that enjoyed the series because it is very unique. So many different groups found and identify with so much because it is honest and it's real. I know a lot of times in the unscripted genre, you get storylines and things, and from a producer's aspect and things, and it feels very produced. I think because this was an indie project, self-funded. My production company is Purpose Production, and it's a 501c3. And so it is a nonprofit. I consider it a form of ministry. We talk a lot about God. We're just real honest about our life and how we navigated through transition and change and so many different themes, and part of the series early on, I had my first mammogram at 42. And no one expects to get that call back. Everybody expects for everything to go smoothly. But when you are moving and relocating, life goes on. And even if you have a health crisis to occur, doesn't change the move, doesn't change the timing. And so there's just a lot of different themes to identify with, a lot of things that people related to. And it was just very honest, things we did not expect to happen. When we first started doing this, when we were pitching, people kept asking us, well, what are the high stakes? What are you going to show us? Is it travel? What's the big deal about being an expat? And having done this before, because we lived in London for almost 5 years, I know it's dramatic. You can't predict the things that happen. So we were praying. I was like, oh gosh, what are going to be the high stakes? Oh Lord, I hope, some interesting things happen. And then by the time we were done filming, we were like, all right, God, we got it. You can stop me.
Thank you very much.
We got a whole pandemic and all. We got the season.
So you gave us COVID, Lord God, and some a mammogram that was unexpected.
Yeah. So it's honest in that it shows a lot of positive aspects, but then a lot of realistic aspects. School choices, home, you pack things and stuff doesn't arrive the way it should, and language barriers, and trying to find people to relate to, and just the settling in process that is honest and real and not what people expect.
Well, and I wanted to go there. We got some comments and questions. Keep those questions coming in for Juanita about her expat experience. Whatever you want to know. I got questions about, how she kind of came up with and started her filmmaking company and everything. But going back to the question before we took a break and gave some shout outs there, the Black experience for expats, right? I think you mentioned a lot of people can identify with this show for a lot of reasons. Did you think that going into it, did you know that was going to be an important story that you were going to be telling? And can you tell us a little bit about maybe how that experience might be different?
Sure. Yes, I did. Because having experienced it, and I'll tell you, when I came up with for the idea of the show in London, two different occasions, two different experiences, one being industry genre related and one being specifically Black expat related. When we were living in London, we used to do this event called Soul Food Sundays, and it was like a potluck, and we would rotate around houses, and somehow, I don't know how, but I always find all the Black people everywhere I go. I don't know what it is. I'm just like that person that's like, hey, Black person, hi. You know? That's me. So we had these events, and it's something that Annette and I even talked about when I was on her podcast. Sometimes in the expat world, you don't see a lot of diversity. You just don't. And that's just the reality. And that perhaps is a snapshot and a reflection of corporate America, and the corporate world, and who ascends to certain levels of being a director or a vice president or these specific positions that have the global experience. You just don't see a lot of diversity in that. And that has to do with race and gender. You don't see a lot of women that are, leading the family over. So in comparison to what is the norm. So when I was in London, we were doing these Soul Food Saturday events, and I would look around and, these dinners, it was beautiful. It was fun. And one time we were celebrating this family that was getting ready to move back to America. And it was like 30 of us, we were barbecuing, and Frankie Beverly and Maze was playing on the lawn, and we were listening to Beyonce and the kids running around. And then I looked up, and there was Windsor Castle. And I thought, oh my, I wonder if the importance of this moment, in that so oftentimes specifically within the African-American community in media, you don't get to see a lot of positive images. You have to go to scripted television. So you can see Cosby Show, Different World, Blackish, even, Greenleaf, or things that are scripted, fictional television.
Well, you just named 4 over the last 4 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. I mean, not a lot on the big networks, the main networks, right? Where you can see families that are professionals and these kinds of role models. I mean, people still cite the Cosby Show as the first time they saw Black doctor, Black lawyer, nuclear family,
And it was criticized as unrealistic at that time. I mean, I grew up on the Cosbys. And so I remember the narrative around it was, well, that's not realistic. That's not how real Black families live. And that was very much the norm, but you just didn't see a lot of it. So representation matters, because you can't envision, especially for youth, you can't envision yourself experiencing something that you don't see yourself in. And so you go to the scripted genre. So there was that moment where I looked up, there's Windsor Castle, and I looked around, and everyone was a director or a president or a vice president or a GM. And I knew that we didn't really see that often. And then there were other people that had made the journey to becoming expats and living globally that were teachers, diplomatic families, military. And so you didn't really see their journey or us in that journey. And so I knew that we needed representation. I knew that it would be unique to see us in that space, because you just didn't see us. When I would go to American Club meetings or affinity groups, I might be the only Black person in a group of 200 women, and I might be one of 2 or 3. And so I knew it was unique to show that aspect of it. And then genre specific in unscripted television, the positive image of Black people in unscripted TV and reality TV was something that I felt like, and had received a lot of feedback, that there was a void, in the sense that, and again, I'd say I'm a huge fan of all reality TV. I watch it all. I'm a filmmaker. I study everything. And there's a place for everything. But there's also a place for family-friendly content, faith-based content that just so happens to showcase minority families in a global setting as well. And that impact and that representation, I knew that it would matter. It followed the ethos of our nonprofit production company, in that We're all about empowering women and giving a voice to narratives of marginalized people that otherwise would have no voice and you wouldn't be able to see, because that's not the story that's often highlighted or told. And I just know that our youth they need to see us in these spaces. They need to see us.
I love this story. It's giving me chills. It's kind of making me a little emotional, honestly, as you transport me to that barbecue and looking around, and I'm like envisioning the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying, and the depth and breadth of the professions and the experiences, and the, I can feel what you might have felt in that moment, saying, we need a camera here, we need to document this, we need to be able to show this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that need to see and hear this right now, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think the backstory of people of color in these situations needs to be told, in the sense that,
like, how did you get here? Like, how did we achieve this? How did we?
And
how do
what
you go from here to here, kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, with my husband's story, my husband is from Alabama. I'm from Tennessee. And we talk about, I think it's in episode 2, where we're on our house hunting trip, our corporate look-see trip. And we talk about, how did we get to this place? I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's from Alabama. What choices did we make as individuals? And that's a universal, sort of relatable conversation, but it means something extra special in the Black community as we inspire and put forth images that mean something to our youth, to our community. We talk about the importance of education. We talk about the importance of seeing yourself outside of where you are at the moment. My husband, grew up in a single parent home and from rural Alabama. And, now he's a Duke MBA graduate. And we talk about the choices that we made in terms of education, in terms of seeing yourself outside of where you currently are. And the fact that the first time we left the country was our honeymoon. And I knew then, and again, we're people of faith, so we tell it from our lens. I felt like God placed it in my heart when we were engaged in planning our honeymoon, and everybody was like, why don't you go to Cancun or go to Florida? I really feel like God wants us to live in a way that's international, that we need to prepare for that. I had no evidence of that, no reason to believe that at the time, other than this inkling in my spirit, in my gut. And we went to Rome and Florence for our honeymoon. The year after that, we decided to go to Paris. The year after that, for our anniversary, we decided to backpack across Spain. And then 2 years later, after I finished, creating some little human beings, it was time for us to go and live abroad. And I don't think we would have felt comfortable or confident enough to say, yes, we can live abroad, had we not first traveled. So I think it's important for every community and every group, but especially when we talk about diversity and inclusion and images of positive people in the media, and more importantly, normalizing that. Yeah. I want to normalize all groups and all races just being. And so oftentimes in the media, we don't have that. And so I wanted to make sure that people saw us as just human beings in a very interesting and funny way, and a unique kind of story, but overarching. Yes, I knew that the importance, and I think that's part of the reason why it's taken off so much, because you just haven't seen that. I've gotten so many messages from a lot of Black people all over the world, UK, Africa, and the US, that have just said, thank you for normalizing my existence in a global space, for making me normal. And I know that that's lost on a lot of people, but when you're living in a time where we dealt with the viral pandemic that we're still dealing with, and some would say even a racial pandemic, where we filmed Black Lives Matter peace rally here in Taiwan. We don't really have the same issues here in Taiwan in terms of, like, the police here helped us set up and take down at the rally.
It was very cordial. It was very protecting, sir. But you had an incident, but you did have an incident at that. I saw that, that was kind of disturbing. I mean, so it does show you that it is a pandemic. It is a problem around the world.
And I think one of the ways that we all deal with things differently. I think the arts has always been the catalyst to having conversations and dealing with current events and issues that the world may not be ready to deal with full frontal, full face, face on. The arts has always been a way to move the conversation and move the needle on the dialogue that we have to have. And so doing this as an art form in terms of storytelling, reality storytelling, and just being honest.
You're right. You're right. And I love what you're saying, because art opens the door. But the fact that you've chosen as a filmmaker to control the narrative and the way it's presented and the way the story was told, and the choice and the conscious decisions to move away from sensationalized situations, right, and into edutainment and family, and these are little decisions that make huge differences in the outcome of the show, and I got to give you so much credit. And I mean, this, I'm preaching to the choir here, but the fact that you made a decision to film this and produce this on your own terms and in your own way, and then find maybe a more democratized distribution channel like Amazon Prime, right? Than trying to pitch this to the Travel Channel, which is going to say, well, this is a travel show, or HGTV, which is going to say this is a real estate show,
Right.
I love that you did it on your own terms in your own way, and the product is very much your own. And I got to think that that's the reason it's so successful. Otherwise, it would have been a one and done house hunter show.
I think so. And thank you so much for saying that. And it's encouraging, because as a creative, as a filmmaker, there are days, even in the success of the show and having to pause distribution for a variety of reasons, but it will be great. And the revamp is going to be amazing. But even in doing that, as an indie filmmaker and as an independent, I think this is the time of the indie filmmaker. I think that we need narratives and content that is honest, that speaks to the need of real people in real situations. I know that a lot of networks, they have their mandates, they have what they need to do. And we're also in a state of COVID, so a lot of things are frozen. A lot of productions are paused, and there's not a lot of risk that's being taken on new content and new narratives, no matter how honest and needed and necessary that they are. So it was an honor. It is a huge responsibility. We stayed true, my production partner and myself. And, it takes a village to make these type of things happen. We were a very small production. I know it looks extremely expensive.
It looks super well done. I mean, the production value is very nice.
But, thank you. And, the beauty is that we're in the day and age of digital spaces. And so much is possible. We grew so much as filmmakers, as producers, as directors. I taught my kids a lot. Some of the scenes my children filmed, you can't tell it. It's only a couple, but I wanted, not that many. My daughter's actually really talented. But it is very much a grassroots effort, and it had to be, because sometimes people want things to be a particular way, and I wanted it to be honest. I felt like for every family that's relocated and gone through the transition, for every expat, for every person that's honestly gone through this time, it was a huge responsibility to do a show to showcase our journey and our experience in a way that not only was honest, but that their family could enjoy. I want my grandchildren to press play and for grandma not to embarrass them. And so I think the most beautiful aspect of what I've received are these beautiful love letters from families that have said, thank you for making something that I can sit down with my children and watch, and not have to hide their ears or turn away, that actually inspires young people to think about themselves as global citizens and to aspire to travel or to live abroad. And young people, I say young people, I'm in my 40s. So they're, 20-year-olds are young people to me. I feel like all of a sudden I turn into my mother. My mother's a teacher. She retired
these days, right?
So my mom would always be like, young people, sit down. So every time I say young people, I feel like my mom now. But for young people to, young professionals to think about the trajectory of their careers and where does an international stint come into play? Have you had those conversations? Have you thought about it? even studying abroad. Have you thought about it?
I think this show that you've created could be one of the best things that's ever happened to the global mobility community, right? Because here we are in COVID. And I'm going to tell you why here. I'm not just blowing smoke. Here's why. Here we are in COVID. Everybody's freaking out about what happens when everybody works from home. Are people going to be relocated? Are they just going to work remotely? Are we even going to move people to other countries? Are they going to do what we call, work from anywhere, or virtual assignments where, I report to a U.S., line of business, but I'm in my home country of Brazil or whatever. These are the kinds of existential concerns that the global mobility industry is having right now. And we don't know the answers to this. But I think what's going to drive global mobility, just like so many things with the employer and employee relationship, it's not going to be as employer driven in the future. I believe it's going to be more employee driven. People raising their hands and saying, I want that international experience. I want to see the world. I want to go report to this business unit. And them raising their hands. And I think for people to raise their hands, and people of all communities to raise their hands, shows like yours is going to be so inspirational in that it's accessible. We see the problems, but we see the successes. We see how we can manage it. It makes it real to us. And I'll tell you honestly, as a person who's wanted to live abroad, in my life, my wife is not having it. She is not having it. And if we did do it, it would have to be England because, God forbid they don't speak our language or whatever, or we don't look alike or whatever. She's like, it gives her agita just thinking about it. Yes. But I think if you were to tune in to your show together and watch it with the kids, hey, Taiwan looks all right, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think that's part of it is, and thank you for saying that, because it demystifies. It helps to break down the barriers just to see it. And again, art is a catalyst and a conduit of conversations, of dialogue, of having the thought process of seeing something that, again, edutainment, but there's so much to consider as we enter into the new norm, as we are already in the new norm, and seeing what possibilities are and making it so, that you have informed decisions to make. Because we went to London, back to London, because like I said, I started Dress for Success Greater London while I was living in London. I still chair the board. I was in London at least 4 to 5 times a year before the world shut down. And I took a trip to London on the show 2 days before the borders closed. I returned. Wow. So I felt like I was running from COVID the whole time. Honestly, I did. I felt like I was just like, oh, okay, COVID's under control under Taiwan. Let me go to London. Wait. Oh, it's here now. Let me go. But funny. It's one of those things where you do see the difference in experience. I talked to a lot of the friends that I met in London. They're in the show. You see my life that was there. That is a lot different than here in Taiwan and you see me in Taiwan struggling to learn Mandarin. When you add in a language barrier or a language, I won't say barrier because it's only, you can learn it. It's not a barrier. It's just an aspect, a component to your international experience. It is very different. I will not start a Dress for Success Taiwan. I will tell you that. People have asked me that. I'm like, no, because I can't talk to people. My Mandarin is horrible. I'm in class twice a week. My kids told me my Mandarin is trash. They were like, how are you speaking Mandarin with a Southern accent? How does that happen? I'm like, I am so sorry.
What is this Chattanooga Mandarin over here? What is going on?
Chattanooga Mandarin, it's like, ni hao,
ni hao.
And I don't know how my teacher is just like, I think it's going to be beautiful one day when you actually figure out how to move your mouth properly. But there's that aspect of it and dealing with it and seeing it with a bit of humor. I think comedy also is a disarming factor, that we can laugh at things that perhaps are intimidating or make us concerned. There's a scene where when I came back from London, we were in a weird time frame here in Taiwan where you would have to self-report. Now they're doing a lot of tracking. This is right when the borders closed. If you left within a certain time frame and came back, you had to self-report in terms of quarantining. And so the borders had just closed. It was a weird time frame. It was like a 10-day span that if you had left and come back, you need to self-report. I was going to self-report. I just needed an hour to unpack or so. My husband reported me. Came in and snitched on me. And I'm like,
Keenan snitched on you to the government.
He did. He was like, someone's on the phone. They want to talk to you. And I'm like, what? I was going to self-report. It wasn't as though I wasn't going to self-report. I was
going to turn yourself in.
I was just going to shower and then do it. That's all. I would just needed to shower. That's all. I'm like, Keenan. But my husband is so compliant. It's so by the book. He's like, nope, you need, and it literally was within 2 hours of the announcement being made. Like, it wasn't like I was out of compliance. They were, and all they did was tell me, like, just self-quarantine, just stay at home, and which I was going to do anyway. But it's comical moments like that that help us to have dialogue about the realities of quarantining, about the realities of travel, where we are right now in the new norm. And so I pray that the show is a catalyst for a lot of different conversations, a lot of positive things. And just, I've had people, a lot of people that actually were positive with COVID, had nothing else to do, watched the show and told me that they were blessed by it, put a smile on their face, and it was something that got them through being on bed rest for a certain period of time. That's always a blessing to hear.
Nice. That's lovely.
That's always a blessing.
That's wonderful. I want to continue this conversation, but we got to give some wine away.
Yay.
Real quick. Okay, we got to bless some people. Speaking of blessings, let's go bless some people. Here, we've got a couple shout outs real quick. I want to hear from y'all as well out there. I want to hear your questions. Okay. I kind of went off on my own little curiosity, but I want to hear if you've got questions for Juanita, about the expat experience, about her filmmaking, about whatever you want to talk about. I'm going to leave 20 minutes for that. After we give out some wine real quick, we got some people, some real quick little shout outs here. People are really digging this right now. People are loving it. Andrew checking in, and Zach checking in, and Alan shouting out First Tech because he thinks he can get some wine. Matthew Nee checking in Texas. Yeah, Ken Nickel Lane up in Canada. People all want to be on a reality show. William, real quick, what was the name of the show again for everybody that's tuned in?
So the name of the show is called The Expats International Ingrams, and you can go to the expatshow.com, stay up to speed in terms of when we're going to re-release and revamp and relaunch and all of that. There are clips on YouTube that you can see. You can't see any of the episodes right now because we're negotiating some really exciting things for other reasons as well, but it's going to relaunch and revamp, and it's going to be great. But yes, the Expats Show on all social media is there as well. You can check out the extended trailers are there. So,
I saw it on Facebook. I got some great clips, and then also on Vimeo there were some really nice clips as well. But if people want to support, because I know this is all near and dear to our heart, how can people support the show, give you that extra push to make a whole bunch more of these and kind of spread it around and franchise it around? What can we do to support as the community?
Oh, thank you so much. I think right now you can go to the website, sign up for updates. We'll be giving that information in terms of push. In the beginning, we were like, go to Amazon, write a great review. But right now, while it's paused, I don't want fake reviews, so don't write anything positive if you haven't really seen it. There were some fake negative reviews on there, but we'll deal with that too.
Do you want me to call Jeff Bezos real quick and just say, hey, Jeff?
Great. Before he leaves, that would be great. Yes.
Jeff, you still there, Jeff? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
One more thing.
No, but I think, just staying informed wherever we land would be great to just share it and like it and watch it. And that information will be coming soon, we hope and pray, and as we negotiate away.
And let's get on that mailing list, the expatshow.com. Is that right?
Yep. Expatshow.com. Get on the mailing list. Follow us on social media. I'm just really excited about the support, even while we're paused. But again, 2.3 million, we would have never thought that was possible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've never had more than like 7,000 views on YouTube. So
who you telling? Okay, I got 5 people watching this right now. Okay, who you telling? Let's see, Valerie, what's up? H-Town, Melissa Sedona, Queens in the house. Katie, Jamie Lingham from Australia. Forget England, come to Australia. Don't make me make like an Australia joke, Jamie. Come on now. All right. I love Jamie. Going to be on his podcast. Can't wait. The Working World. It's awesome with Karen Mendez. I'm loving this show, Alan says. Hysterical. Great show. People are loving this right now. They need to make your show available in the UK. Prime haven't allowed Brits to watch it yet. Just hang in there, Antonio. It's coming. It's coming.
It was actually, it was streaming in the UK as well. So part of that 2.3 million was UK viewers, and the UK loved it. I mean, it was, I think because we were there, you know, some of it was filmed right there in London, right in the heart of Brick Lane. That's where we were located in terms of Dress for Success, Greater London, and my journey, and really highlighting the work that we do to empower women in the Greater London area through Dress for Success. So
awesome.
That's a charity that's near and dear to my heart. We're attacking poverty and getting women back into the workplace. And so it's, I've been involved with them for 6 years now. They can't get rid of me. You know, I've thought about resigning. They won't accept that. And it's fine with me. I love what we do. And it's a true, it's an honor to be able to serve women and help them in that way. Support
that Dress for Success charity in London there as well. Don't forget, go to loveandrelo.com/community, sign up for our wine giveaway. Melissa says, you always give out wine. I'm coming every Friday afternoon. Yes, Melissa, we do. We always give out wine, at least for the next couple months. So without further ado, let me welcome my soul, Janet Turner, okay? My producer emeritus here, okay? Janet, how's it going, Janet?
Hey, guys. It's Friday, and I get to talk about wine. I love this new role. And I have to say, just waiting the extra hour was driving me crazy. I'm like, let me get on the show and talk about wine.
Talk about the wine. And then we got Tim here. Tim's our Vanna White here with the wheel. So, yeah, we're trying, Juanita. We're trying.
That's good.
So, Janet, tell us about the wine we're going to give away.
Well, you know, since we're a global community, we're going to try to be as global as we can. So I have picked out a red and a white from South Africa this week. So the first one is a red blend, and it's from, let's see, Swartland, South Africa. Have you been there, Juanita?
I have not. I have not.
Have you had South African wines?
I have, yes.
Okay. So this is a red blend, and this is the first giveaway.
Nice. All right, let's spin the wheel. This is very high production value. Okay, Miss Ingram,
make it happen.
We could use some cinematography around here. Okay, let's see who we got here. Dave Horn. I don't even know Dave. Welcome, Dave. Congratulations. Hey, could somebody tag Dave Horn in the comments so Dave knows that he won? He can get his butt over here and give us his address so we can send him some wine. All right. What else we got, Janet?
We have a Chardonnay from South Africa. So this one, I'm not even going to attempt to say the name, but it's from Constantia, South Africa.
Now, is this a Dutch name here or a German?
It doesn't look like that to me.
Beiten? Okay.
Someone will write in and help us.
I don't know.
Can somebody de-Dutchify this for me real quick? Okay, so do we know anything about this wine, Janet?
I can read to you. To be honest with you, full disclosure, I think I've tried South African wines once. I just thought it would be in honor, you know, of the month that we're celebrating and being global here. But it just says that it's nicely crafted with great vibrancy and acidity.
Hey, you know what? If that ain't a reason to buy it, I don't know what is.
There you go.
Tim, spin that wheel, all right? Let's spin that wheel.
You can never go wrong with a good Chardonnay.
Right.
All right, there you go. Good Chard. All right, let's see what it is here. All right. Spin the wheel. James Fitzgerald. All right. Awesome. Somebody tag James Fitzgerald in there also. Victoria McCullough, if you would do the honors. I'm going to call somebody else like 911. You got to tell somebody. All right. Tag James Fitzgerald in there and Mr. Horn as well.
Janet, so happy Friday. Enjoy your wine. Nice to see you, Juanita.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate y'all. This is fun. We're trying to mix it up a little bit. Juanita?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I love, it's interesting because in the interim, while we're waiting to see, what happens in terms of franchising the show and all of that, I have always done a travel vlog called Where in the World is Juanita? So we're actually going to do some new content. But in that travel vlog, at the end, we always did a wine review specific to the place that I did. So it was Wine Down with Juanita. And so I literally, when I say I love wine, I mean that fiber of my I'm a rosé girl. Now I was
going to ask your varietal rosé.
Yeah, okay. My favorite is and any rosé. I am not particular, nor am I. I love any rosé, but I used to when we were in the UK, we used to go to France a lot, to different places, and do a lot of wine tasting, my husband and I. And wine tasting is still our favorite date night. So it's still our favorite. And we do currently, Taiwan has some of the best speakeasy bars, hidden bars. So we're doing, so I am launching, it's called Traversing Taiwan. It's a new segment of Where in the World is Juanita. So we're not leaving people empty handed while we wait on what's going to happen with the show. So if one way you can support is by going to Juanita's World, follow me on YouTube. That content's going to be out there. It's called Traversing Taiwan, and we are doing a speakeasy tour. I've been to so many bars here that are beautiful speakeasies, wonderful cocktails, but wonderful wines. And there was one bar that I went to last week that was a hair salon, and you had to go to a specific place, pull the bookshelf, and behind it was this beautiful speakeasy bar.
Love it.
It is just, we walked up to coffee stands, and it looks like they're just selling coffee at a storefront, but you pull a particular book, the wall moves. And so Taiwan has some amazing bars, amazing wines. We're doing that. It's called Where in the World is Juanita? And it is Traversing Taiwan. So we're taking people because, with COVID, it has increased domestic travel amongst the country of Taiwan because we can't leave without, the viral threat of death. So we're staying put right here in Taiwan. And Taiwan has done an amazing job in managing COVID. I think to date, we've only had 9 deaths. And for a period of time, for about 9 months, we didn't have any local cases of COVID at all. So
does that mean that you're allowed and able to move kind of freely in the country?
Yes.
Are there a lot of precautions still, or is everybody just kind of operating?
Yeah, no, a lot of precautions still, especially right now. We're entering into Chinese New Year celebrations. So we're taking some extra precautions. But Taiwan has always been a very precautious, a lot of great communication, great government, great leadership, woman president. Just throw that out there. Just done a fantastic job. But we still social distance. We still wear masks, especially now more than ever, because we're entering into the travel season where a lot of people are coming home. So
right, because for Chinese New Year, everybody goes back to where they're from, right?
Exactly. So you've got a lot of people that are working abroad in different places that will come home to visit family. So we are on some heightened restrictions and heightened alerts. That's why we could continue to film during COVID here in Taiwan, because we were not on lockdown. And, schools were open. Now, in the show, you'll see where schools closed twice, back in February and March of last year. But then the curve flattened, and you'll see how we navigated in that new norm. And a lot of people were like, oh, you weren't wearing masks a lot. There were only like 8 public places where we were required to wear masks. MRT on our subway system, museums, large stadiums. But for the most part, and I know people have seen it in the news, we had concerts, we had events, and we didn't have any local cases of COVID. Now that's changed a little bit recently, unfortunately, but that's a reflection of the world that we're in. And so, it's one of those things where it is unique to see how Taiwan navigated that space. But with the travel vlog, because again, the Expats is not a travel show. It is a lifestyle show about the expat life. But we heard the audience, we hear people, and we respond. They do want more travel related content. And that's where you can go to Where in the World is Juanita and get that. And then they wanted an extension of trailing spouse experiences. And so there is an 8-part series that I'm launching tomorrow on YouTube called Trailing Spouses Talk Show. And it's myself and another diplomat wife So her husband is with the embassy here for Swazi, the country right next to South Africa. Yeah. And she is his wife. And she and I did an 8-part series talking about everything travel spouse related, from the definition and the term to raising third culture kids, finding purpose, setting goals, packing, traveling, and even a little bit of fashion fun.
Oh, wow.
For traveling, for trailing spouses, on how to stay fabulous in flat shoes. And let's be realistic, you know. So we hear the audience while we're navigating through franchising opportunities and the growth and the, you know, the quick popularization of this show. We didn't want to leave people empty-handed. I am a filmmaker, content maker at heart. So, you know, it was not a real stretch for me to have his content was just sitting here and I didn't know what to do with it. And everything happens for a reason. So we have Traversing Taiwan with Where in the World is Juanita, that's out there for more travel related and really taking people through the beauty of Taiwan. And then also Trailing Spouses, that's on YouTube. And, you know, we wanted to make it accessible to everybody also, because with Amazon Prime, we did find that it was challenging for some people in certain areas, especially even here in Asia, for them to see the show. And that was another catalyst for deeper conversations about the best accessibility and where the show should be, because we get 3 million and people in Taiwan couldn't even see it.
Couldn't even see it where it was being filmed. Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Jason's asking for links for the show and really for all your content and shows.
I will share that.
Will you share that? And maybe actually, if somebody's watching right now and they want to just kind of look these up and throw the links in there, we have the Juanita's World.
Yes, on YouTube. And I'll actually put that out because I'm loading. My internet is not, it's not slow in Taiwan. It's just certain hours is faster than others. So right now it's still 6 a.m. here. So it's loading well now because everybody's still asleep right now. But the Trailing Spouses will be out on YouTube. Where in the World is Juanita? You can see past travels throughout Europe. Those episodes are already out. But Traversing Taiwan comes out day after tomorrow. And so you'll be able to see a lot of those speakeasy bars that my husband and I, that's our date night. That's what we do. Even though our kids think we're not that cool, we're like,
yeah, we're really cool, actually. Y'all just don't know yet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
seriously.
Like you have to be cool to even know where these places are. Like a lot of them are really, they really are hidden speakeasy bars. If you pick up a phone and the wall moves, it's so cool.
I love that stuff. Cool. That's so awesome. People are really enjoying this conversation, and actually we're going to get into the trailing spouse conversation really quick because you got a great top 5 here. Sandra's checking in. It's good to see you, Sandra, there with a great little never question the ripples in the pond from doing the right thing and doing it well. Before we get into the trailing spouse, then we did have a question here that I want to honor. This question from Andrew. He says, absolutely, a global experience is essential for leadership development. Juanita, what was your most significant culture shock challenge?
Oh, you know, I'll take it from 2 different lenses. I guess when I was in London, you know, I think people would be shocked to know how different American English is to UK English and how so much can be lost in translation. It's interesting because when we went to London, I actually did a job share role there. I was a unique opportunity. I actually worked as a trailing spouse in a traditional way. And while I could not practice law at the time, I decided to do a business role because I was a procurement attorney. So I did a procurement executive role while I was there. And I think it's a culture shock in the sense that, you know, you really can miscommunicate and still speak the same language. And so I think it's really important for people to do cultural sensitivity training, cultural training. The company that we were with or are with for my husband's job, one of the great benefits is that they send you through cultural sensitivity training. Be it in London, our kids went through it here, even for Taiwan. And I think understanding certain nuances of the culture is really important. I have a funny story. My husband's going to kill me for telling this, but our kids went to a private British school when we were living in Ascot. So I decided not to send them to the international American school when we were in the UK. I love the British school system. Our kids actually here in Taiwan are in a European British school system here in Taiwan. Had the first parent-teacher conference, and this goes specifically to Andrew's question. What kind of culture shock can you get into? Had a parent-teacher conference, and we didn't realize exactly how many different words meant different things in the UK. And so we were having a parent-teacher conference. They were talking about that year. I think there was something that the government mandated that they talk about, like corporal punishment with parents. And my husband was saying, oh, well, we don't do that in our home. You know, I've never spanked our child. And spank in the UK means a totally different thing than in the US. And he was saying, you know, the only, if there were absolute necessary, you know, if it was just, you know, if she was doing something extremely dangerous, maybe a little tap on the fanny, but that's it. And fanny means something totally different. And because we think about like fanny packs and, you know, like bags and things, that is not what that means in the UK at all. And I could tell in that moment that the teacher whose blood had left her entire life, that something was going wrong. And my husband just kept going on like, well, no, we would, you know, we don't do that at all. And if we did, it would only be in this situation. And she was just turning more. And I was like, Keenan, stop talking. And I said, what's happening right now? Because something is not right. And so everything the British people on the show, they'll understand exactly what I mean. It was not what needed to be conveyed at all. Like fanny is a word.
I'm looking this up as you're talking. I'm like Googling this. I'm like, I gotta know now what these things mean.
It was a horrible miscommunication from cultural differences. And once she explained it, we were like, oh my gosh, we were like 2.5 seconds away from probably them calling Child Protective Services.
Your kids taken away from you in the UK.
Pretty much. So, you know, you can have cultural shocks and still speak the same language, and it can be totally go left. You have to be very attuned to EQ, reading body language. And I think moving here to Taiwan, culture shock obviously is, you know, learning Mandarin, the barrier that exists, but also just knowing the cultural differences of how to get along and how not to offend and how best to navigate. When we were filming, you know, as a filmmaker, and just going to different places and asking permission to film there and navigating through those waters. And then as a woman and as the executive producer, and it being my set, and navigating through different gender nuances that I had to overcome and just deal with in terms of how you communicate things. And you're used to being a female leader and leading in a particular way. And we were fortunate enough to have a consulting producer who was Taiwanese. I hired a Taiwanese consulting producer specifically to make sure that we did everything on the show in a way that was culturally responsible, sensitive, and respectful. Because sometimes you do things and you don't really, you know, there was a point where in our going away party and even at our anniversary party here in Taiwan, I am obsessed with kimonos. I'm obsessed with fashion. I'm a fashion philanthropist. I use fashion to empower women. I love fashion. A lot of my friends are fashion designers. I went to exhibits. I fell in love with kimonos years ago before I ever even thought about moving here. They're very figure flattering. You don't know what's going on underneath them. They hide a lot of
I need to get me a kimono, I think, right now. The way you're selling these kimonos.
They hide a lot of things, and you can get away with a lot of stuff. I had to explain in the show so as not to offend via culture appropriation, that it was a fashion choice, that it was appreciation, not appropriation. Why I chose it. I had to interview the designer who studied the, you know, and it's all about giving credit and making sure that you acknowledge the cultural significance and that you're not just taking on someone else's cultural identity. Those type of levels of sensitivity and awareness are the things where you can make mistakes and not know. And so I think it's just so important that as you become and consider yourself a global citizen, that you do that fully and that you commit to learning about the place and the people and really engaging. And a lot of people said, well, we wanted to see more Taiwanese people in the show. It's coming. It's just that when you first land, you don't make friends immediately with local people.
You make it hard to make friends with local people?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Did you find it was hard to make friends with local people? I noticed that expats tend to form communities.
Yes.
It happened in Detroit. I think it happens commonly, as you just talked about, in London as well.
Yes.
Was it hard to make friends in Taiwan? Harder, less hard than maybe in England or other cultures?
A little bit harder, only because of the language barrier that exists, and I'm not that great with Mandarin.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not great.
Ni hao.
Ni hao. Like my ni hao is trash. It's horrible. I'm horrible. But I do find culturally Taiwanese people are extremely friendly, and so I think as a culture it was easier. Now it's generational, and so we talk about that on the show. It's easy for me to make friends with people who are maybe 40 and under, and sometimes. For example, are there still microaggressions that exist? Yes. When I get on the elevator sometimes, or when the elevator doors open and I'm there, do some people jump? Yes. Do I still experience that? If I get on the bus or MRT, do people get up and move? Sometimes. But I say, those aren't the people I would make friends with anyway. So they're kind
of opting out of your life and doing you a bit of a favor in a weird way. Yeah.
But there are so many beautiful, open, embracing. Oh God, just Taiwanese people in particular are what they say about them being extremely friendly and welcoming. It's very true. I mean, if you're lost, I'll give you an example. If you're lost and you ask someone, "Oh, can you point me in this direction?" They will take you there, even if it's out of their way. It's that kind of culture. Yeah. So it's very, very welcoming, depending on who you encounter. But that's true for life. That's true in Tennessee, so that's a universal truth. But for the most part, I think if you extend yourself and you are invested in being culturally sensitive and respectful of where you are, I don't think you'll have a lot of problems making friends. And you want to, step outside of your American comfort zone and get to know more people.
I'm looking forward to traveling abroad. I've never actually traveled anywhere beyond North America, and so this is supposed to be the year, Lord willing, get to do that. We are. This conversation has been phenomenal. Okay,
I've had fun.
And I want to thank so many people that have tuned in and have left amazing comments. I think people are really into it. But you prepared a top 5, and we've been playing games. I really like playing games. You like playing games, Juanita?
Yes, I do.
Play games. Okay. So Juanita's put a top 5 together for us, okay? And I think it's amazing. And you've been talking about trailing spouses quite a bit. And actually, we've been told by some experts that maybe we should reconsider and start using accompanying talent.
Yes.
And I think of a spouse that applied to more than you, Juanita, because you are one of the most talented people I've run across in this experience of doing this show. And I've talked to a lot of people, okay? No offense to anybody that's been on the show, but this lady's talented. So I want to call you accompanying talent, but nonetheless, let's get into your top 5 here, okay?
Okay.
So, roll that there. So tell me about your top 5 here.
Yes. So top 5 things of being a successful trailing spouse. And I'd say successful loosely because everyone's definition of success is going to be different, and it should be different. So don't let anyone box you in to say, oh, succeeding as a trailing spouse means you have to come up with your own show and do all these things that Juanita did. No. And also remember, this is my 9th year of doing this. So don't look at my life as a snapshot of where I'm at right now, because I talk about it in the show. My first year as a trailing spouse, I didn't even know trailing spouse syndrome or depression even existed. I didn't have a label to put on it, but I was it. If there's a picture and a definition, it's probably me waving. And that was my first year.
And you were open about that on the show too. And I gotta say, you totally were. Before we get into the top 5 things, how did you define success?
I define success as feeling happy to get up in the morning with reason and purpose, and accomplishing whatever goals that I set out to accomplish. That goal for the day could be reorganizing my daughter's room and laundry, or it could be launching a talk show. It could vary from day to day, but whatever set my soul on fire, whatever gave me reason to get up in the morning with a smile, whatever kept, trailing spouse syndrome and depression away, is succeeding for me. And I'll just be totally transparent about that. I think sometimes when, especially depending on what type of trailing spouse you are, coming from and leaving a career or putting a pin in your career, it can play out in different ways. It manifests and impacts in different ways. And so for me, navigating that journey and even coming to grips with the term trailing spouse, I like accompanying spouse better, but I came to grips, and I talk about this on the Trailing Spouse Talk Show, what helped me sort of wrap my arms around the term trailing spouse and really thrive in it. I studied wolf packs and packs of wolves. And
I know where you're going with this. I like it. Okay.
In a wolf pack, there's a pack and they lead, right? And the young wolves and the elderly and the sick are in the front. And everybody keeps an eye on them and makes sure that they're safe. The hunters and those who go to work are in the middle, and they're the ones that go out and find the food, and they're the providers. The leaders are in the back. They're trailing, and they're making sure that everybody needs that gets what they need.
Nobody's left behind.
Nobody's left behind, that everything is, and they trail all the way in the back. But they're the most important aspects of the pact, because they're the ones that make sure everything aligns, that everybody's getting what they need. And so when I think of us as the Ingram Pact, I am the one that may be trailing, but I'm the one that's making sure that the kids get what they need in school, that my husband has the support that he needs, that, everything from the smallest thing to the largest thing, that's what leaders do. And so redefining what successful leadership, especially from an A-type personality, executive, lawyer, mom, it had to redefine what success meant and redefine what leadership meant and the importance of leading in various seasons and in various capacities. So I came to grips with mind trailing,
That's inspiring. And Janet's loving it too. And people are just digging it too, especially people are going back to the people that went on assignments in the 60s and 70s with their kids, talking about some of those experiences. But let's get into your top five here, okay? Because you've been so gracious with your time here. Top five. Number 5.
Yes. Number 5, connect with various affinity groups to bring or to find your tribe and network and find your network of support. I think that's so important. And you can do that now so much easier than, even 5 or 6 years ago. There are Facebook groups now for every country. And they are also cultural specific. So there are, for example, Brothers and Sisters of Taiwan is a group that really helped me find other Black people in Taiwan. Because, for a period of time, first 8 weeks that I was here, I was like, surely I'm not the only Black woman on this island. But it felt like
the first Black person to come to this island.
Surely I'm not the only one. But you can go weeks and never, because of the sort of homogeneous environment that you're in, depending on the country. But there's Brothers and Sisters of Japan, Brothers and Sisters of South Korea, the American clubs. There are all types of groups that you can find and join. Facebook is a great platform for that. Any groups, I think, helps you to navigate at least the initial landing and change and transition.
Love it. Number 4.
Number 4, set goals for what you hope to get out of the experience as a family and individually. Because I think we often so much, especially as wives or as spouses, as parents, because there can, trailing spouse, you can do that domestically, you can do that internationally, male or female. But oftentimes we're thinking about what this means for the family or what this means for the spouse that's coming over for the job. We don't think about, okay, well, what goals do I hope to accomplish in this new season that I'm in? Do I want to take up a course? Do I want to find more time for self-care? Do I want to see 5 Broadway musicals and, explore 5 countries on solo travel? What do you want to do as an individual and as a family? I think it's really important for you to go into the assignment with that in mind, so that you keep it in the forefront and you have purpose.
I love this because my wife and I are relocating now, and I obviously have goals for being here. We have goals to be around family, but I'm going to ask her when I see her. She actually just called me. I'm going to ask her, what are your goals for this new home that we have?
Yes, and sometimes we don't take the time to even think through that. Start, and number 3, start or continue self-care. And I am a big self-care proponent. I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Fabulous, Faithful, and Free. And it comes with a 6-week workbook. And it's all about setting goals, finding your own purpose, your vision, and self-care. Because so oftentimes moves are difficult. It doesn't matter where you're moving to another country or even to another city. My first time as a trailing spouse was going from Chattanooga, Tennessee to Indianapolis for my husband's job. And you can fall into neglect so quickly because there's so much to do. I was telling one of my friends that actually is relocating to South Africa and from Indianapolis, and she was asking me, they get different types of shipments. So you ship your home goods, but then you also get a short-term shipment of a box that you can put things in. And we often think about like linens and pillows and kitchen, your spices and pans. And I told her, pack yourself a self-care gift. Something that you might forget that you packed, put it in there. You're going to put the kids' toys. You're going to put something for everybody. Put something that's just for you. I don't care if it's a candle, your favorite candle. I don't care if it's a note to yourself to remind yourself that you're great. I don't care if it's a tea, set or pack your favorite tea. Something that when you open that box, it's going to remind you to take a moment, your favorite bubble bath, something that you can't get that's your favorite, that makes you feel special. It can be that small, but it can be that meaningful, depending, because maybe that day was the roughest day of the transition and you just need something to say, I love you to yourself. So do that.
Love it.
Number 2, invest in a life coach when transitioning out of your career. The best thing that I ever did, I was in London, very confused because as you can see, I do a lot of things and I felt very fragmented and I wasn't giving myself permission to do all of these things. I was listening to a lot of narratives of you're a lawyer, be a lawyer and only a lawyer in this specific way. And that's all you can do. And if you try to do anything else, you are weird and confused. And are you going through a midlife crisis? And I'm like, I'm not even old enough to go through a crisis. I haven't lived long enough yet to do that. But the life coach was the one that tied it all together, that there was an undertone ethos in my life of empowering women that was replete in everything that I did, whether it was competing for Miss World International or starting Dress for Success or writing a book or anything that I did, even in acting. It was all about empowering women. Find your thing and invest in someone that can help you. There's nothing, whether it's therapy, life coach, whatever, invest in yourself because that is a key component to you being whole as a trailing spouse. And then the first thing, number 1, plan ahead of time to find purposeful activities to do in your spare time. I am a huge proponent that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. You have too much time on your hands. And it is so important. And that's part of investing in yourself, in your skill set. I don't care if you want to take up crocheting or filmmaking. Figure out what you like to do. Find an American or whatever language that you speak, that particular group. There are so many interest groups out there now that if it's hiking or yoga or whatever it is, invest in researching where you're going so that when you get there, you don't feel so lost. You feel a sense of, oh, I can't wait to go and find this photography class, or I'm going to sign up for this. Something that gets you out of the house, something that gets you up and going, something that's just for you, because you're going to spend 90% of your time pouring out into everybody else. Take a minute and plan to pour back into yourself. That's my top 5.
Wow, that's rich. That's good stuff right there. Juanita, this has been amazing. Your story is inspirational. What you're doing is inspirational to me. The things you're doing with filmmaking and travel and just telling stories that need to be told speaks to me, speaks deeply to me. So thank you so much for being with us here. This is great. Can't say it. Thank you, everybody that chimed in today. Your questions, your participation was fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for Janet for making a cameo there. Thank you so much for our producer, Stacy. Appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for Tim. Appreciate you as well. Thank you for Annette for connecting Juanita and us. Juanita, is there anything you want to leave people with, or any ways that people can get a hold of you? Feel free to plug whatever you want and leave us with a final thought.
Sure. You can follow me. I'm on all social media platforms. I am Juanita Ingram. Very easy to find. And just, connect with us and follow the journey. We're excited. And thank you so much for all of the support. When the show revamps and reemerges, we're really excited. And if you are a family and you're interested in perhaps sharing your journey, connect with us on the expatshow.com. We are contemplating all of these things right now. Would love to connect with other families that are interested in sharing their journey in a positive way. The ethos of the show will not change. It will always be a positive show, always be something that can be watched with families. So we're just really excited. I am Juanita Ingram, and I am JuanitaIngram.com. It's even my personal website. So if you want to connect, please feel free to do so. And thank you so much for all of the support. And I just appreciate it. The sun is up now. It was dark today. I watched the sunrise. So thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you, Juanita, for being here. I'm totally uplifted and inspired. Thanks, everybody, for joining in. Next week is no show because I'm doing my own relo. However, Monday, I'm come up with the most ridiculous idea, which is to broadcast live during my move. So you can ask me about all the things I wish I would have done, should have done, could have done.
We should have filmed you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Trust me, there's plenty of drama. I don't know how positive mine would have been. I'm afraid it would have been not within the ethos of your show. Okay.
Fair enough.
I need some prayer. No, but seriously, we're gonna be broadcasting live on Monday for that. So feel free to tune in. Love to see y'all there. Again, Juanita, thank you so much. Really.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take care.